Hi, I'm Laura and welcome to the PIRATex Deep Dive, where key personalities of the world of events and the experience economy join me to share their stories and their take on the future of the industry. In each episode, you will find a lot of helpful insights and learnings to bring your event game to the next level.
PIRATex Deep Dive. All things remote events.
In today's session, I have two wonderful guests who have tons of experiences in the event industry, and they're also coming from the physical event cosmos, but now focusing totally on tackling the digital challenges. And they are part of the team of TechBBQ, one of the biggest tech events in the Nordic market. So I am very happy to welcome on one side Nicklas Pavoncelli. Correct me if I said it wrong. He's the Global Partnership Manager at TechBBQ. And on the other side, Henk Werner, and he is the leader of the side event of TechBBQ in Shenzhen in China. And now you know why I'm so excited talking to them, because at least in my perspective, seriously, the Nordic market feels like they're always a step ahead when it comes to innovation. And China seems like to be at least one step ahead when it comes to the pandemic we are currently facing. So welcome the two of you. Hi there. Very happy seeing you.
Hi, thank you very much for having us.
Henk, how are you doing over there in China? How is it feeling? You're in lockdown or you're good?
No, we're good. It's cold right now, near freezing temperature, and windy, which is not very common here. And yes, of course, we got protective measures. People wearing masks everywhere, basically. But besides of that, it's kind of normal. We just do the things we always do.
Lucky you. We're kind of not, but hope it's getting better soon. So the two of you, maybe you can say a few sentences about yourself. You're probably doing it much better than I do. Nicklas, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Nicklas. I'm actually working, for TechBBQ, as I said, a global partnership manager in Copenhagen, though I'm not Danish myself. I'm Italian-Swedish. My surname is actually Pavoncelli, as you almost correctly said, but yes, it's something I don't expect people to get right here. I work for TechBBQ since 3 years now. Actually, time goes by really fast, and I've been mainly working on trying to get more international audience and trying to bring more Nordic into an event that was really good already on the Danish level. And we came across also Henk and his team in Shenzhen 1 year ago, when we started for the first time TechBBQ Shenzhen, and he's definitely an asset over there.
You're an asset. That's a good introduction to you, Henk. You want to
Sure
add something to that?
Yeah, so my name is Henk Werner. I'm a Dutch guy, moved to China 10 years ago, and 4 years ago started a makerspace, mostly because I needed a makerspace, and the type of makerspace what I thought was normal kind of didn't exist. And so we help people, we train people basically on how to develop and manufacture products in China in a safe and controlled way. And for this, we build community, and we do events for building community. The people of TechBBQ were introduced to us about 1.5 years ago. And we liked each other. We have the same values, the way how we do things. And we have a nice location as well. So they said, well, would you like to do the first TechBBQ outside of Denmark? And I said, of course we want that. and we just in November did the second edition of that successfully. So we're very pleased with this.
Lovely. That sounds like a really brilliant cooperation between the two of you. Before we're going to hop into the topics, I always kick things off with a short one or the other game. And you can imagine this, you don't have to explain yourself or anything. I'm just going to give you some statements and you say one or the other, okay? So, are you guys rather a beach or a mountain type of person?
Beach.
Beach.
Beach, okay. City trips or more into the woods?
City trips.
Henk?
Yeah, I would say city trips.
And when we're looking at the digital event cosmos, you're more a fan of the classical platforms like Hopin or Swapcard, or you prefer an avatar-based 3D environment?
Ooh, interesting. I don't know.
I probably even have no clue what you're talking about.
Okay, then we just leave it like that. It doesn't matter. And are you more productive in the morning or in the evening?
Evening.
Morning.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Beer.
Okay, so this is just to give like a personal impression of you. I think we got this. Thank you so much, therefore. And yeah, I mean, when we're looking at the event industry, how it changed, I mean, not even the change, but there are so many events out there, physical ones, digital ones. It's just tons of them. So when I look at TechBBQ, Nicklas, what would you say, like, yeah, what was the can you give us some background on it? Like, what was the vision of it? What makes you stand out of this crowd of events? And especially, what are you seeing if you're looking at the event's future?
Yeah, sure. I mean, TechBBQ is an event that started back in the days of when there was an early ecosystem in Denmark. When the early Danish tech founders were looking for a platform where to meet and to gather, exchange knowledge, expand the network, and so on. In many regards, our event had a similar beginning as many other. What I think we actually managed to keep really at the core of our identity and our events is that we like to be still have the same vibe as we had in the beginning when we were just like a gathering in a public park with a barbecue. And I mean, we still have a barbecue in our outside area still today. So in that regards, we managed to keep it. But we do not really aim to become a big event. We rather still try to maintain the value of what in Danish is called hygge, actually, and also other Scandinavian language, they have a common word like that. And we want to pursue that because we think that the best thing in an event is when you feel comfortable enough that you can approach, when you feel comfortable enough to approach other people and have a nice conversation, maybe with people that is not necessarily connected with your field, but all of a sudden, just a nice conversation with a beer or with a hot dog opens up the door.
The hygge style or the hygge vibe that you just mentioned is like feeling comfortable or.
Feeling comfortable, feeling able to access whoever, because we also have a lot of CEOs from companies that are really big Nordic and even European companies that come to our event, and the possibility of just walk up to them and to have to strike a conversation, it's I think what everybody appreciates. There's nobody feels too stuck up in their own role and their own authority that nobody feels too scared of to approach them, and the other don't feel that they have to play a role. So it's very down to earth, and we try to promote that a lot. Mainly with this concept of being around a barbecue or sharing a common moment together.
Yeah. Sounds very comfortable. Yeah, and very pleasing. But now when you look at the future of TechBBQ, like, what's your vision of it? Where do you want to develop the event towards to? Anything concrete in mind?
Well, yeah, I mean, since 3 years, as I mentioned briefly before, I'm trying to increase the international platform, right? And I did this first and foremost by trying to include as much as possible the southern Swedish region of Skåne, which is like right across the bridge from us. And this is because what we wanted to develop after having such a good grip with the Danish community was something that encompassed and involved also closer ecosystem to our region, and then try to play on the fact that Copenhagen sits quite in the middle between the Scandinavian and Nordics and the Baltics, with Europe. And we want to continue that. And we would like to see if we can become some sort of a showcase for the Nordics and Baltics, while keeping, of course, our front running attitude of we want to present what are the latest technologies being developed and who are the champions in these industries and so on. So that will not stop.
Yeah, and what role would you say does Shenzhen or the Asian market play in that context?
Well, that is, while on one hand we're trying to increase the audience at home here in Copenhagen, we're also trying to introduce new markets and new areas of the world to the Nordic audience and to the Nordic founders, because we did notice that founders spontaneously go towards the UK and the USA, that they do pretty well by themselves. Mm-hmm. So we can foster it and we can support it, but it's more interesting if we can help them to get acquainted with other markets, other industries, other rising ecosystems, such as Shenzhen, but not limited to exclusively. And and of course, bridge the cultural gap that there is, because the US, of course, is a closer culture to ours than it is, for example, the Chinese one. Yeah. So, and this is the thinking behind.
Yeah, it sounds like a really smart move, if you ask me. But I want to ask Henk, what is your perception on this relationship? Like, how valuable is the Danish community for the Asian market, or what makes the relationship special, Henk? What would you say?
I think it goes in both directions. The Danish entrepreneurship is very active, also in the sense of product development, in creating new technology, new IP, and is often looking for either a market to sell the product, which is also very welcomed here, or to produce, especially if it's not really a very high value and a high profit margin product, which could potentially be done in Europe as well. Then you probably need China for production. So I think in both ways this works. We connect entrepreneurs from Denmark with the Chinese ones, or with expat ones living here sometimes to educate them, and that works very well.
Nice. And I mean, when we're looking at the situation we're in right now, I mean, not in December, but end of last year, there was like a lot of positivity towards the return to events in the new year. But now, recently, we just experienced that there are a bunch of new lockdowns, especially here in Europe or in Germany, where I am sitting. And it feels like we're losing this positive atmosphere again a little bit. I mean, Henk, you just said in China it's not that it doesn't look like that yet, but we'll get to that later. But what I wanted to say is that, Nicklas, if I understood it right, you're following a very strong internationalization strategy to open up new regions, new markets. But what's your mood on this when it comes to events and going more global now that all these new developments are in light concerning the pandemic?
Yeah, well, it's a very good question. Let's see. I can start from how we felt last spring when everything shut down. And back then it was dreadful, I must say, because all the countries literally, even though we were the European Union, each country was on its own. So everybody kind of focused inwards and started looking inwards and focusing on keeping their economies alive. So international, back then there was no international. What we saw though through the months is that people started again, like wishing, like you also probably have it in your own personal private life. You miss traveling, you miss going abroad, you miss going to the airport without having this.
I do.
So in that sense, a lot of people is missing this simplicity, this I want to go to another country and meet their ecosystem. So in that sense, what I've been busy a lot in the last months has been creating the framework and projects and connections that I will be using a lot in the upcoming years, months and years. And what I actually I felt, of course, besides this a little slumber and in optimism, because 1 week in 2021 we were welcomed with new restrictions. What I started to do is what we used to do last spring. Meaning, last spring we started looking a lot the numbers of infected. Now I'm looking at the numbers of vaccinated people instead, increasing by the day. So in that sense, I'm keeping my optimism alive that way, and hopefully with the spring and summer coming and combined to this effect of the vaccination, hopefully we will be there again to be able to travel to a somewhat satisfying degree and meet again people.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that, seriously.
Absolutely.
No, but in our PIRATex strategy days, we talked a lot about that, like where is the industry heading? And also with some previous speakers on this podcast, I had the discussion. And yeah, it feels like the mindset kind of changed. During the last half a year, people got used to the digital setup. But as you just said, people are so desperate to meet physically again. So what is coming up all the time? I mean, it's kind of the buzzword of, I guess, this new year is hybrid. It's always like hybrid, like take the benefits of the digital things that we just learned and just put them into a physical setup and combine this to like an insane cool event experience, which is a very nice vision. I love this, and we're on it to get there, and this is developing fast. But it's also always easily said, hybrid, but I think it's super difficult. Henk, you are in China. You are allowed to do physical events again. You're, as I said, kind of one step ahead of us. And you did a hybrid setup in November. Tell us a little bit. How did it turn out? How was it?
I would say the physical event was great, as normal. And I mean, that's what we do mostly. So what we got used. I've done some online events as well. And then you kind of focus on that. So you kind of think, well, you have everything in your hands, right? I mean, you're able to do physical events, you're able to do online events, so let's do it together. And you start a little bit delegating to some people, well, can you take care of that? Can you take care of that? And you kind of assume that they understand what you're talking about. And then when you're in the event, you kind of realize, well, I should probably have been a little bit more clear about what I expected, or giving them more mandate to attract more people if they think they need it. Because honestly, I think our online part was not that great this year. So I learned a lot.
So you focused more on kind of putting the physical experience into place and missed out to optimize the digital one. Is that what you would say?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like that in my perspective, it's also like that. It feels like that we're underestimating the workload of hybrid. It feels like there is the hardest part to, as you just said, meet these both perspectives at a time. So I'm just wondering, would you say, is it a good advice to say, we need the double of manpower for doing hybrid properly? We kind of maybe need two teams, one who are focusing totally on physical, one who is focusing totally on digital?
Yeah, I think that's really true.
That's true.
And of course, it's really important. Even the two teams must know each other and must be able to link into each other. But you definitely need qualified people who know what they do for each of the aspects. And I mean, that's not only related to offline and online, right? I mean, in our offline events, we also have different events and things going on. And for that, we also have different people and different teams doing their part. So it makes sense.
And if you would have to point out three things that you would do differently if you would do it again. I mean, manpower is one thing. I'll take that into account already. What else? What are your biggest learnings?
more testing up front, not assuming that everything works. Having more, the manpower list, what I already said. More marketing.
Why that?
I kind of assumed that by just broadcasting that we're also doing this online for the people who usually would come to our offline events and who couldn't be there. That was also not efficient enough. We had much less people online than I expected. So it's clear that people who would turn up for an offline event not necessarily want to attend an online event. So for having the same amount of people online or even more, probably more marketing is at place. So more preparation for that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, in marketing context, maybe also like it's going into the direction of expectation management. Like, what do you get, right? You have this version or this version. If you attend the digital way, this is what you get. But as you just said, it's not just the live stream. It's much more effort and much more work behind it. Nicklas, what is your perspective? What is your perception on that? Is TechBBQ 2021 going hybrid, or what's the plan?
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly as you say. We are planning to go hybrid. It's an exciting challenge because last year we had a fully digital event and talking about, okay, do we need 1, 2, 3 teams? Like, I think in a way it's never enough because what we had to deal from swapping from physical to purely digital event, it was almost relearning everything because while for physical event you have to take care and focus on the logistics, the looks, the appeal, the feeling, because as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the experience and the feelings. In a digital context instead, it's quite different. Like you cannot transmit that. So how do you transmit that? What is the technology that you use, et cetera, et cetera. Hybrid, it's going to be another challenge. It's going to be another set of sleeves, as we say in Italian. It's going to be an interesting one because it will merge many aspects of the digital. So hopefully we can reuse some of the know-how, but it will also offer a new, unique set of challenges. And it will be done because that's what we do. Yeah. We make things happen. Though... I'm quite excited. I'm looking ahead for this learning experience.
So you're convinced, and on the other side, I'm asking Henk, are you still convinced? Is the workload that hybrid is bringing along balanced by the return you get from it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good. That's what I wanted to hear. Gives me more positivity and so on. That's what we need these days.
I mean, we do surely have to do something. We cannot simply sit and look at each other in the eyes.
Yeah, and I mean, as you just said, we learned so much during the last year. Our industry got pushed into everything that is related to digitalization. I mean, probably it would have taken years for us to get there. Now we're there, the mindset is there, people are open-minded for it. It's on us to do something great out of it and to really build this experience that is valuable for both perspectives, in that case, physically and digitally. There is just one aspect that I'm always like falling over, you say that? Yeah, that I'm whatever, you know what I mean.
Stumbling
with, exactly, thank you. It's like the matchmaking. When I think about matchmaking in a hybrid setting, it's like one of the biggest or the most relevant aspects for people when entering an event next to the content. But I'm just wondering, like, you can do a live stream, you can build an experience, but matchmaking, like bringing together the two groups, it's like the physical people can easily connect with each other, the digital audience as well. But how do we bring these two groups together and make one audience out of it?
Yeah, that is a very important question that we also started facing. Mm-hmm. We do want, of course, we want to offer the availability of whoever joins our event to connect with people independently if they are there physically or just digitally. Of course, what I look forward is to see what will be the interaction between the two. Like with someone that actually is in Copenhagen or travel to Copenhagen, how would they feel about taking a call with someone that instead is in another country place that didn't want or couldn't travel? Personally, I do not hold the answer just yet, and I'm quite curious, and I will dig into this with other events that I hopefully will also talk with other people and teams that actually carried out hybrid events. However, that I think is the biggest challenge, merging two different sets of audiences in one and let them interact.
Yep.
Will they, or they just act as water and oil, like they just avoid each other, they coexist.
Yeah. Henk, any idea how this could work? How can we merge them to being one audience?
Yes. So I attended TechBBQ in September 2019, and that was the first time that I encountered that there was an app, a mobile phone app, where you could already, before the event, create a profile and register for sessions, and also browse attendees and ask them questions and set up meetings. And when we did the event, I took that idea and created on our website something similar, where people could register and have different types of profiles which were browsable. We didn't do this year because we had a little bit shorter time to prepare. But right now we are building a totally new membership website, because we already, for what we do, we have a membership website where we connect product developers with suppliers like designers, engineers, software developers, and manufacturers. So we got already 3 types of members which we connect with each other. Yeah. And for an event like TechBBQ, this is ideal. People who register, they get a profile. They kind of like the popular, like LinkedIn, let's say, but more dedicated for what we do.
Yeah, so it's actually, I mean, as you just stated, the solution is basically there, right? I mean, we are also having these event platforms where you can use the app while you're on an event physically, but you can now, currently we're using it in a very intense way for the digital events. But so I conclude that it's kind of more the challenge to push people to proactively get in touch with the other side of the audience. So maybe that is more what what we need to push, and what's our job as event organizers. Well, thank you for that impression. I want to, before we wrap it up, I would like to switch back one more time to more looking at the 2 different countries you both are sitting in, because they're so different. And I mean, you're having this wonderful cooperation with you, and this is brilliant, and I think it gets us a lot of benefits out of it. But do you experience, like, you're sitting in China, then we have the Danish market. Is there a difference when doing events? Like, are there some aspects or characteristics that makes it more difficult in the other market than in the other market? Well, I'm just wondering.
I mean, definitely. Like, the first one is the sheer size.
True.
I would say. Of course, for us in Denmark, we are like everything is legit, in the sense that we talk a lot about many things. Also, what is taboo in that sense. So we do like to be like thought provoking that way, and I don't know if it really matters, but I like to think it does, and what it gives an edge to the Danes, also above the other Scandinavians, but I don't know.
But the size is positive and negative on the other side, right? Right. On one hand, it can be very unique and very personalized, and on the other side, you're missing the mass. Yeah,
definitely. It is something that I also hope to experience firsthand by traveling to Shenzhen, and sadly, so far I didn't have the opportunity this year.
Yeah, Henk, anything your experiences that makes it different in the Asian market to do events than in the European one, for example?
So, I mean, I've only organized events in the Asian market.
My bad.
Before that, I didn't do that, but of course I have participated in the European events. We are getting here a very international audience. I mean, people are definitely from all around the world, and that was what attracted me in coming to Shenzhen in the first place. And people in Shenzhen, like Shenzhen itself as a city is just like 40 years old. So most of the Chinese people here are also like immigrants in this city from other parts of China. And therefore you see a lot of collaboration and a lot of very openness to interact with each other, collaborate, and explore new ideas. So even though it's one city, it gives you a window to a whole world, and I think that's an amazing aspect here.
True.
What we are doing is like bringing our sense of what we feel is like quality, and we love to stand out, and we love to impress people with like actually the best barbecue of Shenzhen, without any doubt, and then added with real events or workshops where people can learn from and connect with each other. So I think that's for me the biggest asset what I see here.
That's lovely.
Compared to what I would be able to do, for example, in Holland, where I come from.
Yeah. But one says that the Chinese are more open-minded towards technology, right? This is like something, or digitalization, step ahead, what I just said. Would you say in the Asian market, it is easier to do digital events because they're just like more open-minded for such things than we are, for example?
I think that's like the same in the rest of the world. I think here, traditionally, events are just in person and starting to be much more online for the same reasons like everywhere else, and not more or less open to it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, you two. We're wrapping it up with my general closing question, and that is always the same one. It's, are digital events here to stay? You say yes or you say no?
Definitely, in a way, they will keep coming with us. All that expensive equipment that has been bought by teams will be used for other things.
Henk, what are you saying?
I think people have discovered a total new way of reaching their audience. So there is absolutely no escape.
Yeah. Good. Two brilliant statements. We're like enlarging our target group so much, and there is no chance this way of doing events is not coming with us, as you just said. That I love it. Thank you so much, you two, for joining me today on this talk. It was a pleasure talking to you, Henk. Fingers crossed that you're not have to go back to lockdown, and Nicklas, fingers crossed that we can like enlarge to further regions, and that also the physical aspects are coming back soon. Thank you.
I'm definitely here to start. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you too.
And thanks everybody for joining us today. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned. It's gonna be an exciting year 2021. Bye. PIRATEx Deep Dive. All things remote events.